Hey, eighth graders. I am so excited to be joining you here tonight. My name is Jill, and I'm on the Eastview student staff. And so tonight, we're going to be in our Wayfinding Bible, and we're going to Hebrews 11. And I have to say, I love this piece of the Bible. Talk about an amazing way to highlight some of the greatest characters in the Bible. It's just a big story that God wants his people, he wants his people to rely on him. And so as we look back at some of these well-known people of the Bible, we can see that everything in their lives happened by faith. And that's going to be the theme tonight. By faith. In fact, by faith is said 22 times in this passage. So clearly God has something big to say to us about going forward in faith, by our faith. So I'm going to highlight a few. I'm going to actually start with Noah, because who doesn't know the story of Noah and Noah's Ark? And so God had commanded Noah to build an ark, and people thought he was crazy. They're like, what is this guy doing? This is insane. But guess what? God commanded him to do that, and he obeyed. And God gave him the strength to make that happen. But it was only by faith. And if we look here in verse 7, it says, it was by faith that Noah built the ark to save his family from the flood. By faith only. So if we move on now to Sarah in verse 11, another really great story. It says here that it was by faith that Sarah was able to have a child, even though she was barren and too old. Think about it, guys. Sarah was 90 years old. Can you imagine your 90-year-old grandma saying, hey, I'm gonna have a baby? Wow, like mind blown, that's ridiculous, right? But God worked through that time with Sarah and Abraham. And God had promised Abraham that his descendants would outnumber the stars. And guess what? It was by faith that Sarah and Abraham obeyed God. And so the last one that I want to highlight is Moses. And I have to say, I love Moses' life story. I just could study it forever. In verse 23, it says, it was by faith that Moses' parents hid him for 3 months when he was born. Now, if you don't know the background of this, a little bit, the king had commanded that all baby boys be killed. And so Moses' parents, they wanted to protect him, of course. And so they kept him back for 3 months and then put him in a basket in the river. And he went down the Nile and was drawn out of the water by the king's daughter. And can you imagine putting a 3-month-old baby in a basket and just pushing it down the river and being okay with that? Well, Noah's parents, by faith, chose to do that because God had called them to make that choice. And Moses is an amazing character in our story. So I wanted to make it a little personal, though. I have a by faith story myself, and it involves my daughter, Shelby. And Shelby, as you can see in this picture, was born with, well, for one, she was born really young, really early. She was born with a tongue twister here that I'm gonna say, primary pulmonary hypertension of the newborn. I know, big word, big medical term. Basically, she was really sick. You can see all of the tubes, all of the wires that are hooked up to her. She spent a couple weeks in the NICU over in Peoria. And I have to say, the doctors were not promising. They said, she's so sick. We are so concerned that she probably isn't going to make it. And our hearts were just broken, and we just came to a point, we were on our knees and just said, God, by faith, we give our daughter to you, and it's only through you that she can be saved. And so the good news of this story is that our daughter is now 24 years old. And she's studying theology, getting her PhD in that. She loves God so much. And part of the beginning of her story is that God rescued her. And it was by faith that we put our trust in him. So I want to challenge you with, what is your faith moment? I want you to take time tonight to share, because we all have them. Sometimes it's just a matter of bringing it forward and then sharing it with someone else and seeing, okay, wow, God really worked in this piece of my life that seemed really hard. He came through, and it was by faith that he drew me near to him. So to wrap up, I want to encourage you that here in Hebrews 11, these are just a bunch of ordinary people, just like I'm an ordinary person who gave birth to this very sick little girl. But God gave them an extraordinary story, and that's just our amazing God. That's how he works. So, 8th graders, dig in tonight to that. Share your story. Much love to you all, and God bless.